Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
You will hear a telephone conversation between a representative of an internet provider service and a man who wants to get a new password. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7.
Good evening, this is WebNet and you're speaking with Natasha. How can I assist you today?
Hello, Natasha. I tried to log into my WebNet account yesterday and I realised I'd forgotten my password. Are you able to help me with that?
Of course. What I'll need to do is ask you a few questions to check your identity, and then I'll issue you with a new password. Is that okay?
No problem.
Firstly, can I have your full name, please?
Michael Simmons. Simmons. I don't have a middle name.
Great. And your date of birth?
It's the 27th of the 3rd, 1988.
Right. And I also need to know your previous address.
I live at 12 Wake Street and that's in...
We have that as your current address. What was the address you registered with us before you moved there?
Oh yeah. I used to live at 319 Ocean Drive. That's in East Providence.
I'll just need your contact phone number as well.
That's 0492 48002.
And just a few questions about your account. Do you know what your current data allowance is?
I upgraded to the Gold account not long ago, so it's unlimited.
Yes, unlimited data. Right, now can you just tell me about your payment plan? Which plan are you currently on? Do you know?
Oh, hang on a minute while I think. Yes, I started off with a 12-month automatic renewal, but a few months ago I switched to the 24-month plan.
That's fine. Now when you first registered for WebNet, you selected 2 secret questions and provided us with the answers. In order to issue you with a new password, I need you to answer those questions for me. Firstly, what is your mother's maiden name?
My mother's name is Sarah. That's Sarah with an H.
That sounds like her first name. We're looking for her maiden name. That's her family name before she was married.
Oh, sorry, I misheard. It's, White.
White as in the colour?
Yes, that's right.
Now, the other question you chose to answer, what was your first pet?
The first pet I ever had?
Yes.
It was actually a goldfish.
That's what it says on your file. OK, that's all done for you, Mr. Simmons. I've sent you a generic password, which should arrive in your email box within a few minutes. I'll just make a note of the date, 30th of June. When you log in, I suggest you go to the Members Details section on the website and change it to something you're going to remember.
Wonderful, thanks.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Yeah, there are a few things. I've been having some connection issues recently. I think the problem is with the cable that connects the modem to the computer. Do you supply those?
You need a new cable. Not a problem. I'll arrange for that to be sent off tomorrow.
Thanks. Also, I'm currently signed up for 3 of your services: home phone, mobile and broadband. I use the internet a lot, on my computer and on my mobile, but to be honest, I never use the home phone and I don't see why I should keep paying for that plan.
Would you like me to cancel that home phone for you?
Yes, please, if you wouldn't mind.
Done. Is there anything else?
Yes, just one last thing. Do you offer any antivirus products?
Yes, we have one which offers full protection against viruses, spam and identity theft, which is useful if you're doing any online banking and that kind of thing. It's called the Security Pack.
Sounds perfect. Sign me up for one of those, please.
And we've got another one. It's called the Parenting Pack. It prevents your children from accessing harmful websites and downloading things they shouldn't.
I'm not so worried about that anymore. Both my children are adults and have left home. So, just the security pack, thanks. That's everything.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a man who owns a holiday home talking on the phone to a woman who has rented it. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Hello, Ron Smith speaking.
Hi, this is Kayla Lawton. I signed up with the Holiday House agency to rent your beach house, but the agent isn't available today and I have a problem. I can't remember what she said about the alarm system.
Oh, it's quite simple, really. The main thing to remember is to enter by the back door, which leads into the kitchen, because that is where the alarm is situated, right next to the light switch, just beside the door. If you go through the front door into the living room, it will take you longer to reach the alarm, and you only have a few seconds to deactivate it. The code is 3498.
Okay, I've got that.
The agent will have given you the back and front door keys, but there are other keys that you may need for the garage, the laundry, and the little garden shed. You'll find them hanging on a hook inside the cupboard in the hallway, next to the hot water cupboard. The laundry room is outside, next to the garage. It should be kept locked, so please remember to return the key to the hook when you've done your washing. The last tenant lost it somewhere in the garden, and I had to have the lock replaced. There should be some laundry detergent for the washing machine next to the dishwashing liquid under the kitchen sink. Oh, now, about the linen. The sheets are already on the beds, and there are lots of towels at the house too. Of course, you'll want to enjoy that lovely, safe swimming beach as much as possible. You'll find a pile of beach towels in a basket on the washing machine. Feel free to take these to the beach with you. We have lots of them, and they're pretty old, so it doesn't matter if they get a bit dirty or sandy. There are other newer towels for use in the bathroom only. These are in the hot water cupboard on the shelf up above the cylinder. Please don't take these ones down to the beach. What else? Oh yes, I should tell you that the electricity supply is generally reliable, but sometimes there are power surges which make a few light bulbs blow. If that happens, don't worry. There are spare light bulbs in a shoebox on the chest of drawers in the bedroom. That reminds me, the main power supply is switched off at the mains box, which is above the front door. The first thing to do when you arrive is to pull down the large lever. It's clearly labelled mains switch. You don't need to touch any of the other switches.
Thank you. Anything else?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Oh, one more thing. Something that might interest you is a folder of local information. You know the sort of thing. Interesting places to visit, opening hours for the shops and services in the town, plus a little map of local walks. It's on top of the TV along with the remote control. Parking in the town is usually really easy, except for weekends, when the place is swamped with tourists, so I would recommend doing your shopping on weekdays. Oh, one thing though, if you want to combine a shopping expedition with a visit to the Early History Museum, you should know that it's not open on Mondays. There are lots of good places to eat in town too. You will find a list of menus and takeaway prices for some of the more popular local cafes and restaurants. If you like Chinese, the Happy Dragon has excellent food, or I'd recommend the Pizzeria if you prefer Italian. They have a good selection of takeaway pasta and pizza as well. The Happy Dragon is a firm favourite with the locals though. Both restaurants deliver free of charge, but note the phone numbers have changed since the menus were printed. Phone 3231190 for pizza and 3239911 for Chinese. You won't be disappointed.
Thanks a lot. I'll do that.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear a conversation between a lecturer in business studies and a student, Blair, who is preparing for a seminar on corporate cultures. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hello, Blair. Come in and take a seat. Now, are you ready for the seminar on Friday?
I think so.
Good. What aspect of business have you decided on for your presentation?
I thought I'd talk about corporate culture.
There are many facets of corporate culture. You're not going to try to cover them all, are you?
No, I've been reading research by Robert Quinn and Kim Cameron, and they put forward a model of just 4 distinctive corporate cultures. It's called the Competing Values Framework.
Good. Where do you want to start?
I'll start by talking about the hierarchy culture. This is found in a business that observes formal rules, regulations, and bureaucracy.
How do the leaders achieve this?
Well, in such a structured and controlled environment, leaders usually take pride in running stable, organised and efficient operations. In fact, this may even be part of their mission statement. They rely on their power, status and the importance of their position to manage their workers.
What sort of company is most likely to have a hierarchy culture?
Well, a few smaller firms might have some of the elements of the hierarchy culture in their day-to-day operations, but on the whole, I think this culture is typical of government bodies and big corporations.
Very good. What's next?
I'd then move on to discuss market culture.
Very popular in the 1960s, I believe, and quite similar to the hierarchy culture in that it also emphasizes stability and control.
Yes, but the main point of difference is that market culture attaches a great deal of importance to external relationships with stakeholders, such as customers, suppliers, and creditors.
Why are these particular associations important to a market culture?
I suppose because successful interactions with these people would increase the company's productivity.
Do you know whether this practice does have the desired effect?
Well, according to studies carried out by Angelo Kinnicky and his colleagues in the School of Business at
Arizona State University.
Yes, where was I? Right. Kinnicky and the others revealed that this culture type tended to generate the greatest financial results, probably as a result of their focus on competition and achievement.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
All right, now what's next?
Clan culture. I think I'd like to work in a clan culture.
Oh yes, why is that?
Well, a clan culture is more like a family than a rigid, structured organisation.
What do you mean by like a family?
Well, it's more focused on teamwork and morale. It's probably not surprising that this type of culture results in the greatest level of satisfaction among employees.
What about the internal structure of a clan-type business?
It's quite flat, really, nothing like the hierarchy type we talked about before. There is usually just a single leader or owner whose role is quite paternalistic, and he, although I suppose it could be a she, would act as a mentor, guiding, nurturing, and encouraging employees.
I can see that ongoing employee training would be characteristic of this kind of business.
Definitely. And in a company like this, loyalty would be very important. Also, management would want to know that everyone within the company had the same ideas and objectives. My brother works for a company like this, and he absolutely loves his job and puts everything into it. He's extremely loyal and devoted and thinks he's very lucky.
He probably is lucky to have a job he enjoys.
Yes, well, he's better off there than in an adhocracy culture.
But adhocracy does appeal to a certain type of person.
Yes, if you're adaptable and don't mind lots of changes all the time.
What's most important in an adhocracy culture?
It would have to be flexibility and innovation, and the ability to react swiftly to a changing market, competition, or other factors in the external environment.
What kind of leadership would you expect in this culture?
They would be entrepreneurs who welcome change, are not afraid of taking risks, and are always seeking growth opportunities. Workers would be urged to try out new ideas and not sit back taking things for granted. To an outsider, especially someone from a hierarchy culture, this kind of culture might look a bit chaotic and disordered, but it's innovative, forward-looking, and adjusts rapidly to change.
Okay, Blair. I think you've got the basics of a good presentation, and you've responded well to my questions. Just one further question, and then I'll let you go.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to Part 4.
You will hear a lecture on the environmental effects of pesticides and some alternatives to their use. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good evening. I'm here today to present the findings from our research into pesticides and alternatives to using them. I'd like to begin by talking about some of the environmental effects of pesticide use. As most of you will be aware, pesticides have proven to be very harmful to our environment. The principal reason for this is because nearly all pesticides travel beyond their target areas. This often happens when rain carries pesticides along water channels, such as rivers, where they are then transported downstream. In other situations, particularly when they are dropped by plane, the wind blows pesticides into wild areas where they are not wanted. These areas can be up to several kilometers away. We also need to think about the effects of pesticides on animals. Pesticides can cause illness and even death in many animals, including birds and aquatic life. Animals can also be affected, however, when pesticide use eliminates their food source and causes them to starve or migrate to other areas. When pesticides don't travel into neighboring environments, they tend to seep into the soil. There they degrade the quality of the soil, and in addition, they can weaken biodiversity. Studies of pesticide-contaminated soil show a much lower count of organisms compared to healthy soils. There's a final consideration to take into account, and that's the environmental effects of pesticides in terms of pest numbers. In the short term, pesticides significantly reduce the number of pests in an area, as might be expected. After long-term regular use, however, insects tend to become immune to certain kinds of pesticide and are no longer negatively affected by them. As the number of insecticide-resistant pests grows, this creates the need for new varieties of pesticide and further exacerbates the pesticide problem. Let's move on now to look at some possible alternatives to pesticide use. As I'll explain, although these techniques can help reduce our dependence on pesticides, they do have their own drawbacks too. The first technique will be familiar to any of you who have even a small vegetable garden at home. You see a slug on a piece of lettuce, and what do? Put on some gloves, walk right up to the plant, and pick the slug off with your hands. This is called hand picking. Hand picking is remarkably effective and requires little in the way of money to implement. But while it may be sufficient for the home gardener, the time-consuming nature of hand-picking makes it unsuitable for large-scale operations. Owners of larger crops and orchards require a more systematic approach to pest management, and they have a few options here. You may be familiar with a technique known as biological control. This involves the strategic use of what we call good insects, that is, insects which eat pests rather than plants. When they eat the pests, they also protect the crop environment. Unfortunately, biological control is always risky because we can never know for sure how insects will behave in a particular environment, and the results are therefore unpredictable. A safer option is companion planting, where certain plants are grown together. Garlic, for example, fends off spider mites and aphids, and basil drives away the tomato hornworm, making it a good companion for tomatoes. This is because some varieties of plant can repel specific breeds of insects, so planting them alongside and around more vulnerable vegetables will discourage the insects from coming near. Of course, all these extra plants begin fighting for space and competing with the protected plants for access to water and nutrients in the soil. A final possibility is crop rotation. This involves alternating plants every harvest, which forces insects to migrate in an attempt to locate their food source. Crop rotation is unappealing for large-scale commercial operations, however, because the high cost of constantly changing crops cuts into their profits. As you can see, there's still no easy answer to the question of how to keep plants free from the scourge of pests.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.